Now, Joe Biden's efforts to tamp down tensions in the escalating war between Israel and Hamas faced massive setbacks even before he departed for West Asia. Jordan called off the U.S. president's planned summit with Arab leaders after a deadly explosion at the Gaza hospital, killing hundreds. The postponement of the Amman summit comes after Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas withdrew from the scheduled meetings in protest of the attacks. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza blamed an Israeli airstrike. The Israeli military said that it had no involvement and pinned the blame on a misfired Palestinian rocket. Jordan's foreign minister said, and I quote, "This war and this aggression are pushing the region to the brink." He stated that Jordan would only host the summit when all participants agreed on its purpose, which would be to stop the war and respect the humanity of Palestinians. While in the air, Biden released a statement saying that he was outraged and deeply saddened by the explosion at the hospital and the terrible loss of life that resulted. He said that he spoke immediately after hearing the news with King Abdullah II of Jordan and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Biden added that he has directed his national security team to continue gathering information about what exactly happened. Now, the cancellation of the Jordan leg of the trip reflects an increasingly volatile situation that will test the limits of American influence in the region. And here's why the Jordan summit was crucial for the U.S. president. The Israel-Palestinian conflict has been ongoing for decades, and to a large extent, it's involved the same cadre of leaders. Netanyahu is the longest-serving prime minister in Israeli history. Abbas has been Palestinian president for nearly 20 years. Abdullah II has been king since 1999. Biden has called the Jordanian king a loyal ally in a tough neighborhood. El-Sisi is the newest leader, president of Egypt since 2014. Furious protesters tried to storm the Israeli embassy in Amman, where Biden was due to meet Arab leaders. Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah called for a day of rage over the strike to coincide with Biden's arrival. It fueled fears of the very escalation by Tehran and its allies that the U.S. president's visit is supposed to warn against. Tear gas fired near U.S. embassy in Lebanon at protesters. Hundreds of angry protesters gathered outside the French embassy in Tunisia on Tuesday, also denouncing the United States. In Iraq, scores of protesters gathered near Baghdad's Green Zone following the Gaza Hospital blast. Hundreds in the Iranian capital of Tehran protested against Israel outside French and UK embassies. Now, apart from funding Hamas, Israel's arch-foe backs Hezbollah in Lebanon. French President Emmanuel Macron said that nothing can justify targeting civilians and called for humanitarian access without any delay. Qatar's foreign ministry called the hospital strike a dangerous escalation in the course of the confrontations. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan condemned the incident as the latest example of Israeli attacks devoid of the most basic human values. The UN human rights chief called the hospital strike totally unacceptable, insisting that the perpetrators must be held to account. Russia and the United Arab Emirates called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting. European Union's Charles Michel said that targeting civilian infrastructure in Gaza breaks international law. The African Union chief accused Israel of a war crime following the deadly strike. The World Health Organization condemned the deadly strike and demanded the immediate protection of civilians and healthcare in the Gaza Strip. Now, for more on Biden's Israel trip, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
An already high-stake trip by the U.S. president to the Middle East has become only more complex after that attack against the hospital in Gaza, immediately after Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas canceled the meeting with the U.S. president. And shortly after that, we learned that Jordan has canceled a summit with the U.S. president, which was also scheduled to be with Egypt's al-Sisi and the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas as well. Regardless, President Biden heads to Israel to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to not only demonstrate America's ironclad support for Israel, but also learn about Israel's military plans as a ground offensive by Israel into Gaza to destroy Hamas may be underway. The White House sees this understanding about Israel's military plan as being essential in preventing a wider war in the region. And while the White House says that it has not asked Israel to delay its possible ground offensive against Gaza until President Biden leaves Israel, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken did say that President Biden agreed to go to Israel only after the Secretary of State met with the Israelis and got a confirmation that Israel would allow aid into Gaza. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.